Hi everyone, here's a quick breakdown of how I painted my salmon figure. First off, I clean and sand all the surfaces to remove the support marks. Here is a comparison before and after sand. It's important to carefully find all the separate points since they can really affect the final look. I also dry fit the whole figure beforehand to get sense of the overall composition. Before painting, you also need to prep the surface. I simply washed all the parts with soap and water to degrease them. There are many ways to do this. Feel free to share your method in the comments. I mount the parts on sticks for easier handed during painting and to avoid touching painted areas with my fingers. Next step, priming. Pretty straightforward. Load the primer into your airbrush and spray it on. It's best to apply primer in several thin layers. In my experience, the first coat should be ultralight. It helps reveal areas that still need sanding. Once those are cleaned up, I apply proper coat. Make sure to let the primer dry thoroughly. I usually leave it for about 24 hours. For the skin tone, I use a mix of different paints. I almost never use paint straight from the bottle. Right now, I am applying the base coat, which I later shade using washes. After applying any paint, always seal it with a clear coat. That's my golden rule for every stage of painting. Once the paint is fully dry, again I wait about a day. I begin applying washes to add texture and tonal variation to the skin. First up is a heavily diluted blue wash. I cover the entire part, then remove the excess with a makeup sponge. I do the same for all skin areas. If the sponge can't reach certain spots, I dab those gently with a brush. Next, I apply yellow wash, same technique. You can use whatever colors you like, no need to copy me. The color sequence is also flexible, dependent on the effect you are after. To create a mottled skin texture, I use an airbrush with the pressure dialed down almost to zero, just enough airflow to mix the paint. The paint itself should be very thin, about 1 drop of paint to 5 drops of thinner, to get a semi-transparent layer. Play around with it until you get the texture you want. Here is how mine turned out. The final step for skin is a red tone, which I use to simulate subtle veins or under-skin worms. I spray it on and then gently dab it with sponge soaked in slightly thinned alcohol. The alcohol breaks up the paint and leaves behind nice, natural texture that you can tweak with a brush. I am still getting the hang of this, so I didn't include that part in the video. Now for some classic masking. Nothing special here, just showing how I personally do it. I start by outlining the edges with thin masking tape since it bends well. Then I fill in the larger areas with wider tape. Any gaps in between are covered with masking fluid. I am not the most precise person, so I often leave little gaps that need filling. For smoother edges, try applying the thin tape on one continuous piece. Next up, painting the main outfit colors. For example, when painting gold, I lay down a white base first, so the gold pops better. As mentioned earlier, I never used pure paint straight from the bottle. It's always more interesting to mix your own tones. You'll see a rough idea of the paints I used in the corner of the video, but due to editing and color correction you probably won't get exact match. For the white parts of the dress and gloves, I added a subtle pearl coat. It's very faint, more noticeable in real life than in camera, but adds a lovely shimmer. Now the final part, painting the face. I start by sketching the eye direction, then paint the eyes with fine brushes. There is not much footage of this part because I didn't figure of the best camera angle right away. I add some redness to the inner corners of the eyes. The idea is that she's cheering up. For the first time, I tried using soft pastels for makeup and facial shading. Knowing it was my first attempt, I printed for extra hands and practiced on them beforehand. If you are just starting out, I highly recommend doing the same. When you want a specific result, you need to understand how to get there, and that path comes through trial and error. I draw the eyebrows using a silicone brush. It's easier to get a clean line that way. I remove excess pastel with micellar water and the same silicone brush. Oddly enough, that works better than plain water. Then I clean up the rest with standard brush. After that, I use a toothpick to add tiny hair-like cuts for brow texture. Important: always seal your paint layer first, otherwise it's easy to damage during detailing. I apply makeup the same way, pastel blending corrections. Pastels are great for this, they are easy to erase and let you fix mistakes without much stress. They also work beautifully for soft transitions with just a bit of blending. The video only shows a small part of the pastel work. I tried lots of techniques and watched tutorials on Asian style makeups to better understand the process. The lips are done the same way as the brows. Layer it pastel, blend it with a silicone brush, then detail it with toothpicks, lines to simulate lips texture or fine cracks. Off camera I attached the eyelashes. That part took a while, but in the end I went with a simple method that worked. And finally, assembly. Looks clean and simple on screen, but I almost messed it up a few times. I was especially nervous because this piece was made for a figure showcase, and I really wanted it to turn out right. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you don't like to support my work, links are in the description.
Wasteland where nothing can grow. I used to have strength, but I ran out of hope. I know it's my fault that I'm here